Good morning. It's 10 o'clock, and that's the time that was noticed and posted for our regular board meeting for July the 13th, 2021. 10 o'clock a.m. We're in the Board of Supervisors hearing room, Melody Lane, Bisbee, Arizona. Any item that's on this agenda could be open for discussion and possible action. And if you will stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. The order or deletion of any item on this agenda is subject to modification at the meeting, and the board may vote to recess to go into executive session for the purpose of obtaining legal advice from the board's attorney on any matter listed on the agenda pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A3. We'll begin with the roll call. District 1.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Crosby is here.
District 2, Supervisor English is present. District 3.
Supervisor Judd is here.
We are all three present for today's meetings. Members of the public may also attend this meeting by Microsoft Teams computer or mobile app, or by phone by calling 602-609-7513 or 888-680-6714, conference ID 848-996-955-PEN. If you have trouble accessing this meeting remotely, call 520-432-9200 for direction. The board may permit public comment during the discussion of any item on the agenda. To speak on an agenda item or during the call to the public, complete and email the speaker request form to the clerk of the board at board@cochise.az.gov by 5 p.m. the day before the meeting. Note that some of the attachments may be updated after the agenda is published, and this means that some presentation materials displayed at the board meeting may differ slightly from the attached version. I'll begin with the call to the public, which is normally for people who do not wish to speak on an agenda item, but I've had no requests for such. And so I will close the call to the public at this time. We're going to begin today with a presentation from an organization that's been serving Cochise County, for quite some time. Mr. Anava, Chris?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you come to the microphone, please, for your presentation?
The CEO and Administrator of Nathan William Lacey is going to do.
Group home, but I'm not. I'm a residential treatment facility that we provide services for juveniles that we basically do counseling, individual counseling, family counseling, group counseling, and we all through the state of Arizona, not just in Cochise County. We also in Maricopa County for outpatient services, and we also have an independent living program that's in Cochise County. The thing that I also want to present in terms of some of the goals and short-term goals that we have is talking about behavior modification and talking about with Cochise College, which we merged with Cochise College. I'm not for sure if you're aware that the GED program has changed drastically. It's not as simple as it used to be. So we've had to merge with Cochise College to help some of our kids at 17 and 18 that's not in school to help them as far as their education piece. So we merged with Cochise College going in August, which it'll be open to the community as well as doing education piece. Then I'll go into vocational. Right now, we're working with the Dream Center. I have my kids of 17 and 18 that getting skill identifier. We have business owners coming out, talking to my kids, actually interviewing and actually hiring my kids. 2 of my kids got construction jobs as we speak. Some kids work at Wednesday, Safeways, but as far as the vocational is given an identifier, we do mock interviews with the kids, we dress them up, we do haircuts and everything so they get that experience of life skills so they can be ready for the community. The thing is that I'm looking at in long term, I'm trying to expand services. That's why I want to talk to City Council. We're going on 26 years. Staff-wise, I went from right about 24 to 68 staff. As far as like revenue and payroll is like 86 every 2 weeks. So we bring in a lot to this community. And for myself, being a former athlete, played for the Cardinals, I've been bringing a lot of athletes here. On the 24th of July, I'd like to invite everyone from the community. We're doing an open football camp for the community, free, at the field at the Veterans Park over there. We're bringing some NFL players, Michael Bankson, DK, Daryl Kennard. His son played for the Cardinals right now. He's a linebacker. And also Robert Tate and a few other NFL players going to be out here doing it for the community. We're making it just entertaining and fun for the kids and doing 7-on-7. It's free. So I want to bring that up. These are some of the things I'm doing in the community besides the education and vocational piece for the kids that we have. We do deal with at-risk youth, but most of the youth are redeveloped. We use the charter schools for them. I didn't mention as much because it's like a short, so I do this so good. I've been doing this 26 years, so if I'm going too fast, it is I know it by the back of my hand. But I have a psychiatrist, psychologist on staff, RN on staff, technicians on staff, behavioral health paraprofessional that's certified through the state of Arizona. So all these people's clinical director are all on my staff as far as what we put in for the community. And everything is community-based as a nonprofit. Any questions? I know it was fast, but it's like 3 minutes.
I personally didn't know the extent of what you did in
Yes,
your
ma'am.
organization. I knew that you served a vulnerable population. And so I thought it was important for us to get your name out there, the organization, and to highlight the successes. And thank you for coming. Did any of the board members have any questions?
No, I thank Mr. Lacy for coming, and I appreciate your work in the GED program and everything else that, especially substance abuse recovery and so on. Very interested in that.
Yes.
And then I do have a question, actually.
Okay.
So I noticed that you're a development center. Does that mean sometimes you take kids that are maybe impaired in some developmental delay, like maybe high functioning autism and
Yes,
things like
ma'am.
that, and help
Yes, we
them?
specialize in that as well.
I think that's incredible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
with those, we work with more delicate with and then with my staff, but we deal with those as well.
Good.
And then a lot of things that people don't realize, a lot of my kids are right now working in the community. I have kids work at Safeway, Walmart. I have kids work at Food City, doing out throughout different jobs because we push that. So the thing that we're looking at, where is a big thing, and I know it's going over, 17 and 18, people are not aware of, and if you Google and research it, there's a high demand of kids that don't have a place to stay. They're homeless. Parents don't want them. And so we're working on trying to help them develop into the community and live in the community by giving them jobs. My biggest thing is getting them jobs, doing rehabilitation and education, but getting them some jobs and the skill identifier so they can be more effective as far as in the community and working in the community. And that's what we've been working with Cochise College, and that's with the Dream Center.
Okay.
No, that was it. Thank you.
And thank you for leaving the information so that we can read that later. And if we have questions, I'm sure there's a phone number in there we can call.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity. Appreciate
Thank you
it.
for coming. We move now to the consent agenda, which is items 1 through 4.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the consent agenda items 1 through 4.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Since there's no discussion on these items, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous. We move on to the public hearings, and the first one is a Series 7 liquor license. Ms. Lemons?
Madam Chair, members of the board, this application has been reviewed and recommended for approval by the appropriate departments. The property taxes for the parcel are current. There have been no formal protests, and the applicant has paid the $100 processing fee. Board staff is recommending approval.
Okay, this is a public hearing, so I will open the public hearing on the approval of a Series 7's liquor license application for Ms. Jessica Serenana for Urbano Coffee Company, located at 4711 South Highway 92. I have had no requests for anyone to speak on this issue. Any board members have any comments, questions?
None at this time, Madam.
Thank you.
Okay, then I'll close the public hearing and look for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve Series 7 beer and wine bar and new liquor license application submitted by Ms. Jessica Sariñana for Urbano Coffee Company located at 4711 South Highway 92, Sierra Vista, Arizona 85650.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous. We go on to the next item, and I will open the public hearing for the new liquor license for a Series 13 farm winery application. Ms. Lemons, would you give us an explanation?
Madam Chair, members of the board, again, this application has been reviewed and recommended for approval by the appropriate departments. Property taxes for the parcel are current. There have been no formal protests, and the applicant has paid the $100 processing fee. Board staff is recommending approval.
Okay, I have had the public hearing is open, but I've had no request that I'm aware of for this agenda item number 6. Any board members have any questions or comments?
None at this time, Madam Chair.
I just want to say I like to see the wine community develop in our area of the county, and I congratulate them as they move forward. And close the public hearing.
If there are no further comments, then I'll close the public hearing and look for a motion.
And I'd like, Madam Chair, I'd like to move that we approve a new liquor license for Series number 13 Farm Winery application submitted by Mr. Robert Carl Carlson III for Carlson Creek Vineyards LLC, located at 4574 East Robbs Road, Wilcox, Arizona 85643.
I second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? We might make the comment that this is located on the road that we successfully put together so that the public could access these vineyards. So we have a motion and a second. If there's no further comments, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous. We move on to the next public hearing. And this is a public hearing in order to adopt zoning ordinance 21-11. So I will open the public hearing on adopting zoning ordinance 21-11 and look to Robert Kirschman to give us the information on this issue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Board. Are you able to hear me and see my PowerPoint presentation on your screen?
Both are clear today. Thank you, Robert.
Great. Thank you so much. As mentioned, this is docket RZ 2110 for Page Ranch Road rezoning. It is a request to rezone from HI, which is heavy industry, to general business.
Stop. Is there a reason why it isn't showing up here on this screen?
That screen is not working.
Oh, I guess that's the reason. Okay. Pardon me. I wanted to make sure because these people are having to walk to see what's going on. Okay, go ahead, Robert.
Okay. The request is to accommodate a future manufactured home RV park on the site. All uses would be permitted under the general business zoning district. Site is located south of Interstate 10, north and south of Page Ranch Road. It's identified as parcels 202, 51, 013D, and 13A. Site's approximately 30 acres, and the applicant is Mr. Ken Perry, representing the owner. So this is the area location. This was the notification radius used. So all those parcels that are blue received notification of the application request. The yellow box is the area of the rezoning request. So this is the zoning of the area. I did highlight the request, or actually the heavy industry zoning area with black. Folks that are colorblind like me, it probably blends into this SR8, which is all around the property. And then we have some general business on the north side of Interstate 10, some general business to the south, and we have some RE4 way out to the north and to the south. So the SR8 would allow for single-family homes up to 8,000 square foot, or down to 8,000 square foot lots. Heavy industry allows for a lot of uses that would not be compatible with single-family homes, including truck stops, manufacturing, bus, rail, truck terminals, maintenance yards, commercial feedlots, all permitted as a matter of right without any kind of special review by the Planning Commission, simply going to building permits. So this is actually a downzoning going from the heavy industry to the general business.
Robert,
Yes.
is that what could happen right now without any kind of change?
That is correct. There's a whole host of uses that can be permitted as a matter of right today, and those are the ones I listed: research, testing facilities, large engine repair services, bus, rail, truck terminals, commercial feedlots, manufacturing with no limit on the size of the buildings. So yeah, those could be allowed today by right.
Thank you.
This is the conceptual site plan that was prepared by the developer, showing the development on both north and south of Page Ranch Road. It's going to include some amenities such as clubhouse, some parks, dog parks, etc. The applicant can get into more discussion about their vision for the project. As with any rezoning, especially as we do have 15 factors that we use to evaluate a proposal. 11 of the criteria apply to this request. As submitted, the request complies with 7. With conditions, it complies with an additional 3. And then 1 factor, compatibility with existing development, partially complies. So here's just some photographs of the site. So the upper left is standing there on Page Ranch Road, kind of looking to the southwest. It's adjacent to the rail line. And then there is a strip of residentially zoned property, but used as commercial. I think there's a shed selling business over there and some other vacant properties. And then you have Interstate 10. Looking northeast, Page Ranch Road, again, you can see some of those businesses there scattered along the frontage road on I-10. Page Ranch Road on the bottom, and then looking east from Page Ranch Road. Other things that are in the area, we do have the Coronado Winery that's located south of the site, across from the winery. We do have a multifamily project up on the hill. And then we do have adjacent single-family homes on larger lots around the project. And those are in the bottom pictures below. Staff notified the public as well as the applicant, and in response we received 11 letters in opposition. 8 are shown on the map. One's just off map. The others either didn't provide an address or a parcel number that we could show them on the map. Issues cited include traffic and dust. In regards to the dust, the applicant is conditioned to pave the project all the way from the railroad tracks up to their project, so that would eliminate the dust issues. As far as traffic, there definitely will be traffic generated by this, but the engineering staff has looked at it, and they will also look at the improvement plans to ensure that the impacts are all mitigated. They also cited water. This is not within the Sierra Vista sub-watershed area. The site could also be developed with an ag use, and they could put in unregulated wells out there and you know, grow grapes, nuts, etc. Or heavy industry could come in there and use it as well. And then on sewage, they will be required to comply with state requirements. And I'll let the applicant discuss it further, but I do believe they're exploring the possibilities of using sewage to do on-site watering of their landscaping. So factors in favor of approval: the request complies with 10 of the applicable rezoning factors used by staff to analyze the request. It would provide additional lodging option for nearby winery and motoring public. Proposed facility would generate additional employment opportunities in the area. The use would provide an additional buffer between Interstate 10 and the railroad tracks and the rural residential areas to the south and east. The rezoning removes some of the potential high-impact developments such as truck stops, repair services, manufacturing, warehousing, and the permitted uses require special uses. Factors against the area is primarily developed today as larger parcels and ranches and may appear out of character with the current development pattern. The project will bring additional traffic into the area, and the project only partially complies with the one factor, which is the compatibility. Excuse me. We do have recommended conditions of approval that were included in your packet. These first three are standard conditions. But we also are requiring the applicant to provide a traffic study. It'll need to be compliant with ADOT standards. Page Ranch Road will be required to be paved from the existing pavement at Haskell and the railroad crossing to the terminus of their project. And they'll also be required to submit a drainage report for the detention ponds, and the improvement plans will be required to be reviewed by our engineering staff. With that, that does conclude my presentation. With two more things I want to add. The Planning Commission did recommend approval of this item to the board, and I'm not sure if my email made it to the supervisors or the board this morning, but I did receive a request to speak from a Ms. Julia Hamill. I don't know if it made into the mix because I was out on Friday and Monday, but she does have a request to speak on this as well as several other folks. And that concludes my comments.
Okay. Any board member have any questions at this point in time?
There was a reference to partially in compliance that I heard maybe the third or fourth page. Could you discuss that, Mr. Kirschman? Do you remember that?
Yeah, absolutely. So today the area is, though it is zoned SRA, which would allow 8,000 square foot lots, that's not how it's developed. So today it is larger lots, parcels on ranches and such. So it only partially complies with that, and that it today would appear out of character. In the future, if the area is developed as zoning allows, it would be more in line with what's out there.
Thank you.
Have questions, Ms. Judd?
Not yet. Thank you.
Okay. It looks as though we have several people who wish to comment on this. Item number 7, I think we'll start with Dan and Denise Hatch, and there is a time limit on each person. So the first thing is you come to the microphone, give us your name and address, and tell us if you are in favor or opposed and why.
My name is Danny Hatch. I live at 3983 North Shepherd Road, Wilcox, Arizona, approximately 1.25 miles from this development. I oppose this greatly. Traffic will be a nightmare on the road. We already have problems with traffic. The access from Haskell Road to the railroad tracks is too small to, if a train's going across, to get more than 3 or 4 cars in there. You pull RVs in there, you're going to have people backed up out on Haskell Road, which is the access to Interstate 10 at that area. Also, that curve floods every time you get more than ½ inch of rain. Floods bad. And all the water that comes down the hill goes right where they're going to build this RV park. Okay. The noise for the people in that RV park is going to be atrocious. The train goes right by there, and the freeway is right there. Okay. Wilcox already has at least 5 RV parks. If you go on the internet, there's 5 of them listed currently. Those 5 parks already have over 200 spots available. And if you go to those parks on any given day, they're normally empty or halfway empty. I was at KOA on Friday, and there was 2 vehicles in that park. The whole changing of the zoning, that's really bothersome. I was just on vacation in Michigan, and they changed the zoning laws there from single-family developments so that they changed it from single-family inhabitants to apartment buildings, and with the thought there to bring in Section 8 housing. And I'm concerned that this may be partially in line with what's going on here. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you. The next one I have is Anthony Robertson. Robertson, not Robertson. Anthony Robertson.
Yeah, I'm Anthony Robertson. I'm at 2949 East Rose Runner Hill in Wilcox. And just a couple of issues I had where I'm opposed to it. And we brought up an issue about the water and the damaging it affects to have to so many neighbors' wells. And when it was brought up, I remember the answer was a very vague answer that pretty much equated to, we'll handle that. And there was no plan. So, there's a lot of wells that are already, our particular well is already at a pretty low level. And I can imagine with the quantity of units on that site, how much water is going to be drained again. I just also was thinking about the difference of the conflict between the property tax revenue, and that's a valid thing to concern, and I get it, but there were so many vital unanswered questions, not just the water, but waste and certain other things that just weren't answered. And even on the prior board meeting we had, two of the members stated clearly, I want to study this more. And that it was just very clear. And one of them, as I remember, voted no, and the other one, I think, preferred to abstain and couldn't. And there's just so many deleterious questions or questions about deleterious effects that weren't answered, just plain weren't answered. And it makes me think that either one, there's no concern about it, that's just it, or two, there's an awareness of it and it's not being addressed. I can't judge intent, but the bottom line is a lot of questions, even from the previous board, were unanswered. So, just kind of just wrapping it up, and I just, of course, lost the thing, but I can get to it. I just, if I were on the other side, if I were a board member, and I understand, like I said, the benefits of property taxes coming in, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I would be thinking to myself, if I was made aware of so many, potentially damaging things to my constituents, what kind of recourse am I going to face if they come true? And that just kind of rings the bell to me. And like I said, for the most part, the answer of, I've got a handle on that, it just kind of rings of a trust me, we'll handle it. And, I don't know these people, so I can't trust them that they're addressing it. It just seems like, I can't think of a better word. It just seemed kind of like a slap together proposal and nothing deep was brought up concerning the neighbors and our neighbors. So that was just generally my concerns. And I really thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Robertson. Next, we have Susan Herman or Herman.
Hi, my name is Susan Herman, 4263 North High Ridge Road, Wilcox, Arizona, 85643. Good morning. Okay, regarding zoning regulations, the Cochise County zoning regulations on page 186 states a determination that there is a great public protest pertaining to a rezoning request may result in a denial even though the rezoning appears to comply with other factors. What constitutes a great public protest? We have either verbal or written confirmation from 31 parcel owners totaling 914 acres that are opposed to this project. Also on page 186, the regulations state that for non-residential rezoning requests, the application is to be accompanied by a land use concept plan, which at a minimum must include the general location, size and height of all structures, location, surface and width of driveways, general location and number of parking spaces, setbacks, etc. The conceptual plans that we're presenting for this rezoning shows a road going into a neighboring property that they do not own. The section of the park would then be cut off from any legal physical access. The conceptual plans do not show the right-of-way for the homeowners association to get to their well. Do not show any buildings for sewage treatment plant or drain fields that would need to be held the amount of sewage generated. Since the property is on both sides of the road of Page Ranch, Will they need to be installing 2 wells and 2 wastewater treatment plants? We don't know. They didn't show anything on their plans. On page 187 on the zoning regulation, it states the proposed zoning district should bear a logical relationship to surrounding zoning districts. These 2 lots in questions are surrounded by SRA designation. Most of this land is large tracts used for ranching or just us owners that enjoy our space. And building an RV park in the middle of this open space is not logical. I handed out a couple of packets. I don't know if you'll have a chance to look at them, but in there's an aerial image that does show that there's really nothing surrounding this lot. You'll be slapping motorhomes in the middle of nowhere, right next to a train track. Who's going to go there? Okay, zoning regulations mention infill. This factor is designated to encourage infill in areas where commercial industrial development already exists. This RV park goes against this principle. I guess my time's up. Just one other quick thing is that this trust does own land on the other side of the highway that is already GB, so they don't need this land. So.
I think that there were a couple of things that were brought up, Robert, and you're still on this, I'm sure. She indicated issues that had not been considered. Could you address those, please?
Sure. So one of the issues that have been brought up is the water issue. It's not within the Sierra Vista subwatershed. Yes, folks have concern all up and down the Sulphur Springs Valley and Cochise County and further about water. But we simply don't have any requirement for them to not drill a well. They own the property. They have the right to drill a well. We can impose conditions requiring them to do, and I'm sure the applicant would be willing to, do, any of the more public restrooms during, by the community center, that they would be low flow toilets, things of that nature. They have indicated that they're looking at using their waste to do on-site watering to reduce that kind of issue. As far as the traffic issues, there is a condition in there. ADOT was notified of this project. They had no conditions other than if the county were to require a traffic study, they would want to look at it. And so we are requiring them to prepare a traffic study that will look at these turning movements, see if additional widening is needed, additional turning lanes, to make sure that the vehicles are in fact able to get to the site safely. When the roads are improved, they will be submitting plans to the county engineer. The county engineer will review those plans, not just to make sure the pavement complies, but also to make sure that drainage is accommodated as well.
There's an issue that she brought up that you have not addressed, something about the incursion onto a neighbor's property.
Okay, yeah, so let's look at the site plan.
What was she talking about?
So when we are doing a rezoning, we are looking at a very conceptual plan. And the conceptual plan that the applicant put together, actually, she's right, does show shows no access coming off of Page Ranch Road. So if you look on the northern triangle of the property, there's a tiny little, I guess, probably secondary ingress going out to, I believe it's property owned by Hamill. And so that will obviously have to be addressed when they get to the construction point. But at this point in time, generally speaking, developers are not spending a lot of money on the hydrology, on the traffic study, because they don't know if the project's going to be approved or not. So it's essentially a conceptual plan. But yeah, absolutely. If you're taking access to somebody else's property, there either needs to be existing easements or they would have to obtain easements. And so that will be addressed when they submit their final plan for development.
Thank you. She brought it up, and I wanted to make sure that we addressed it.
Correct. And if I may, Madam Chair, the applicant, I believe, is on the phone. There might be the other applicant might be in there in person. they might be better equipped to address those more adequately as well.
And the access to the well site as well, to the community
The
well site.
access to the well site, is that, is the well site on this property?
I will default to the applicant. I didn't see anything when I was out there on site, but I would default that to the applicant.
All right, I think we have the applicant's representative here, and we usually don't cut in, for and against. We'll have these people that are against, and then we'll allow the one who is proposing the change to speak. Thank you, Robert. We'll go on to the next one, which is, not sure how to pronounce that, Dajo Hicks.
Not here.
Not here? Okay. The next one is Donnell Collins.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Donnell Collins. I reside at 2943 Roadrunner Hill. I'm here with my neighbors and friends. The conceptual drawing is very nice, but we live there, and our concern is with the water and sewage. That's what we drink, what we're concerned with. And I think everyone has already brought up the septic system, having plans for that. No plans for where their wells are going. No plans for where how these RVs will get from point A to point B, how our roads will be affected. No plans for that. And being residents, we want to know how our lives will be affected by this new development. We know that the city is changing. I love the wine country. I love being in wine country, but I don't want something that's half-baked to go into my neighborhood. There are other sites in town where RVs there's RV parks already there, and they're not full. So putting another one in town will not do anything to improve what we're looking for. There are 248 units proposed. Is that 248 wells as well? That's, see here. All this has already been covered by everybody else. There are better suited places. There are better plans. The money could be spent on improving a different RV park in a different location, or maybe taking one of the ones that we already have and changing it or improving it. It doesn't seem like it's well thought out for the people who are already there. We're not, and this is as public a protest or as big a protest as we can do to say that we don't want this in our town or don't want this in our neighborhood. Unless they are hooked up to the municipal services, it's just more drain on resources of people that are out there. The reason it's zoned like that is because there's not enough water in the ground to cover, or not enough water in the ground to supply 248 households. I think that's all I've got.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's all the speaker request forms I have. I have one that just came in, I guess faxed in for Julia Hamill.
Oh,
I apologize for one thing. Duagio is the owner of the Coronado Vineyards. And unfortunately, he could not be here tonight, but that is a business that we do want to, that we're trying to build in that area, the wineries. And I think that the RV park may give a negative impact on that business. We want to grow the wine country.
Well, I think you can speak for yourself, but perhaps not for him.
Oh, perhaps so. But I just wanted to put it in there. Thank you.
Julia Hamill.
Hi, I'm Julia, and I live at 4386 North Silver Spur. This proposed project will be right on our fence line, and we will be sharing this up close and personal. I have spoken with Chief Hydrologist at length, Jeff Inwood, and he explained to me and schooled me on how to read the maps on the wells, and a lot of the people that live in our area have dead wells. They're capped off. There's no water. There's several that they've tried to drill and can't get water. Other wells that are existing are not really good producing wells. Some of the things that Mr. Inwood showed me was that the water in the valley, it's getting worse all the time, and the projection for the future is not good at all, and I'm sure you all know that. In the last 10 days, we've had 2 giant cracks open up in the earth, and one of them's like 10 foot deep, and that was in the Sunsites area, which is close enough. I mean, everything is related. And then there's one on Fort Grant Road. 248 families using water. It's too much. It's not good. I talked to the fire department, and I talked to the floodplain department, and all of these people thought that this was a bad idea. I won't use some of the words they used, but they thought that it was not well thought out and that it was not good use for that area. Even though it's not in a floodplain, the sheet flooding that comes off that mountain, it's tremendous. And like Danny Hatch said, a ½ inch of rain turns into 6 inches or more on that corner coming down off the mountain. And it's not passable at times. And it's just a bad idea. And we're all opposed to it. The fire department, they thought that it was not a good idea either. A lot of these people born and raised in this area, and they have a lot of knowledge, and they thought it was a bad idea. Everything else that everyone else said it's true. It's not a good deal. Thank you.
Do you live right next to this, or do you just own the property?
No, we live there.
Thank you. Okay, I think that there were some people who showed up today and didn't fill out the forms. I want to acknowledge the fact that you are here, so if you would come and give your name, and we'll put it into the record.
Name is Raymond Hebert, Hebert. I own 2 properties up the townhouses overlooking Cornell Vineyards, 2953 and 2957 East Roadrunner Hill, and I'm opposed.
Thank you. Yes. We just line up. I think you deserve to have your name on the record of opposition or for this.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Wendy Cameron. We live at 4141 North Silver Spur. We actually have 2 parcels, but our red was only reflected with one of them, and we are vehemently opposed.
John Herman, live at 4362 North High Ridge Road. We own a small parcel of 120 acres, and we oppose this RV park. Thank you.
My name's Larry Hamill, and 4386 North Silver Spur Road. I'm in the same property with my wife Julia that borders this project, and I am also opposed. Thank you.
If there are no others, I think then we'll close the public hearing and look to the board for comments, questions, etc.
I would like to make a couple of comments. One is that I'm very familiar with the Wilcox area for obvious reasons, like 58 years of experience, and I understand all of their opinions. It's almost as if I lived there. I really, really understand why that's not a good idea. Where I am, a mile away from the railroad tracks, that wakes us up at night, and we have a no whistle zone now. There isn't a silent crossing there, so they're going to hear the train whistles besides the trains. So basically, what I'd like to say, I never discourage business in Cochise County of any kind. I think there are better suited locations for this particular business, but just having that experience with the area, I feel bad that it's almost, in changing this zoning, we're giving them hope to have something that's going to be viable. And I personally and share that interest with the community, that I don't feel like it's right to give them hope whenever there's very little chance of the business being a viable business. So I don't know how that fits in with our regulations or our zoning laws, and I definitely think a heavy industrial is not a good use for that. But I don't see why maybe one day someone wouldn't change it to an SR8 to match the community. So that's all.
I think it's time for us to hear from the person who is representing the property now. Is that you, sir?
Yes.
With your name and address, and if you could address any of the issues that have been brought up for our clarification, that would be great.
Okay, sure will. My name is Ken Perry. The office is 501 West Wetmore in Tucson. I'm with Perry Engineering, representing the owner of the property. And, we understand there's, quite a few concerns. We feel that it is can be a viable park there, an RV park. So we think we could make it a business, that it would be successful. Even though there's other parks in town, ours might stand apart. So there's, I think that, what we've looked at, we can make it and it'll be successful. We know that there's water concerns. We've done a lot of research with ADWR. There are some dry wells around there, but they're just not deep enough. Looks like the water is somewhere around between 180, 200 feet deep. The aquifer goes down to about, isn't it? No, the well.
Please, no
I saw
comments.
wells. I saw the well logs in with the report. They're about 200 feet to water. Isn't that correct? That's what I saw on the ADWR well logs, with bedrock at about 420. So that gives about a 200-foot aquifer depth, thickness. So we're a pretty small water user. Even if it was full, the RV park was full, it'd be about 18, 20,000 gallons a day. I mean, you can get that out of a 35-gallon per minute well that everyone's allowed to drill. We would have two, one for backup. We'd fill up our tanks. We'd have a fire tank, one for fire, one for the domestic water that would hold, a couple of days worth of water if there was something to happen there. The sewer, we would, we're planning on septic with effluent that would be clean enough that we could use for landscaping, could pump it up. We just have one place for it in the low part of the site. Robert said, we'd have a traffic study. We would look at the stacking and the issues at Haskell and the railroad. Drainage, we've looked at that as well. We know there's a lot of drainage comes through there, but we've already, if we've done one study that's been pretty thorough, that's drainage so far. We know what's getting there, where it's going, how to get it through the project and through the culverts under the railroad. I believe there are some wells in the very northwest corner, and if that's the case, then we would provide access to those for the people that have the access, need the access, and have their wells there. So we think it's a viable project. Otherwise, we wouldn't be investing so much time and effort into it. We hope that you can approve our rezoning. And like I said, I think we're a low water user. I think we'd be good neighbors. I think it's viable, and we hope that you can see and approve the rezoning. And I'm available for any questions.
Any questions?
I was at first a bit confused whether it was an RV park or for manufactured homes, but it is an RV park.
Yeah, well, it's actually both. Permanent, we were going to have RV, overnight, and as well as permanent mobile home part of it.
Do you know what percentage that you're talking about would be permanent?
I guess it's 10 on the market, maybe 30 to 50%.
I see.
Something like that.
Okay, what have you done as far as drainage and water and wastewater? I'm looking at what the county has provided us with. I don't know what else there is, and maybe Mr. Kirschman, I'm sure he's still with us. He can adjust that or address that. I am very concerned about drainage and the various strategies that are implemented.
Yeah, I actually provided Mr. Kirschman with our drainage exhibit, which is pretty thorough. We've done a it's a flow 2D hydraulic model. It goes all the way up into the mountains, the entire watershed. We know the flow depths through the site, how we're going to route it around, where it goes through under the railroad. There's some, of course, to the east of us that goes under the railroad. And so we've already designed channels around to intercept, to collect the flows, to route it to the railroad. That's not going to back up onto the neighbors. It's all going to be accepted, routed through. Page Ranch Road will be drivable when it's, raining. It's not now. So it'll have culverts underneath it. We'll have detention basins. That might be it, right? There's more of a grading plan that we did.
Okay.
And you can see there's topography. We have channels that go around. We've got already basins laid out. If you could see our hydrology model that goes way up into the mountains, you'd see, just how much flow gets to the project.
Okay, that topographical map was not available to me on the PowerPoint presentation. That's why I didn't know if it had been addressed.
Yeah, we've actually flown topo all the way up through the watershed that goes, at least a couple of miles, up into the hills there to the south of us. It's pretty detailed topography. So we've got the drainage. I know it's a concern, but we've got the drainage figured out, how it's going to work, the detention, keeping Page Ranch Road drivable.
Okay, I don't have any more questions. Thank you, sir.
I do. So I recognize that the county, if this project were to go forward, is requiring a whole lot of you, and it looks like you've tried to start on those requirements. And we tend to be a pretty easy to work with bunch over here in Bisbee.
Yeah.
But this is above and beyond, because you picked a spot that I personally don't, you heard me, I'm not excited about that. I am excited about you coming in. I am fine with another RV park. That's okay. I'm just very, very in tune with my constituents. And your client is also one of my constituents, but I'm very in tune with them. And when I see a community that is kind of rejecting, I would highly recommend, and I can't vote for this because I do highly recommend that it be examined further on your end.
Yeah.
I understand. I would like to have more information. I'd like to see that map up close. And even if I put my glasses on, I wouldn't be able to see it well. And I do read plans. I know how. So, I feel like I'm not.
What would you, is that a big concern, drainage, or you just don't?
No.
You just don't think it's the right use for the property?
And I understand the water to a bit deeper level, and I can tell you wells, when you're up on a rise like that, which is one of the reasons you picked that area, it's up kind of in the mountains, wells are deeper there. You're higher on the valley. So I imagine the static water level is what you're seeing at 120.
Yeah, I just see
140
what
feet.
the well logs,
Yeah,
and there's
that was
4 of
probably
them
the
right
static
here.
water level, which has
Ms.
been
Judd,
lower.
I think
So,
you have to remember that
but anyway,
we can't
that's my
address
reason.
the fact of their well, because people have the right to drill wells.
Yeah.
Right.
I just think we're such a low water user. It's, I mean, I'm sure we're considerably less than a winery. I mean, residential housing is hardly any water use, and that's why we picked it. But what could go there, the heavy industrial, but you got to remember, heavy industrial use could come in there, no permits or anything, and pump as much water as they wanted. We're trying to be reasonable with what we're going to do.
I think that's what I'm wrestling with at this particular point in time is that, the dragon that already exists right next to these people that they haven't been aware of is the fact that they have a zoning district next to them that has no
Someone could come in,
no
R8.
restraints on, and build and do lots of things.
Yeah, one of them, it's R8. That's 8,000 square foot lots. And somebody could come in there and do that.
Okay, I have a question. On this rezoning, it says to adopt zoning ordinance 2111, rezoning 2 parcels from heavy industry to general business. If we vote to change it to general business, does it have to be for an RV park? Is it specific to that, or is our role today just to change it from heavy industry to general business?
Madam Chairman, so yes, the rezoning is to change it to the general business. So this is what the applicant is proposing at this time, but once it is rezoned to general commercial, something different could be proposed within either the permitted or special use list that's in our code.
Okay, so today isn't strictly about the park. That's the reason that they came to us, is for the park.
Mm-hmm.
But
That's our proposed use.
But our role today is to decide if we feel that it would be better to have it as heavy industry or to change it to general business. Is that correct?
That is correct. And Madam Chairman, if I may, just the exhibit that's on the screen right now was included in the materials presented to the board. It was under the complete application attachment, page 9. So just for clarification purposes.
I appreciate that, Mr. Kirschman. I just didn't, I happened to be on the PowerPoint.
Not a problem. It's a lot of information in there too. I completely understand. Just wanted to draw your attention to it.
Thank you.
Okay, I wanted to bring that up, for clarification for Ms. Judd at this point, to understand that, we're here today at the request to change it from heavy industry to general business.
Right.
More questions? Yes.
Yeah. Mr. Kirschman, how much development of water, wastewater plan should we have and do we have? And is it adequate in your opinion? And apparently it's adequate for the Planning and Zoning Commission. And I can repeat that if you want. How much?
See, we ultimately don't know exactly what will be developed out there. It's all conceptual. So we have no hard fact numbers of how much. Now, our county environmental health did review the application based on the numbers that they crunched. It's actually above what our agreement with the state we have. So they will actually have to go through the state in order to have their waste discharge approved. So they will have to prepare engineered plans, submit them to the state for approval.
Okay. Would you go into that a little deeper above what the state allows, et cetera?
Numbers of people.
Oh, numbers of people? As far as density, is that what we're talking about?
The number of our health department calculated what they would estimate the water usage would be, and based on those numbers, it was going to exceed what we can do. If you give me a few minutes, I can pull that up. It might take me a minute. If you want, I can come back to that if you have other questions or discussion.
I've got comments while he's looking for whatever he's looking for. That is, as we realize, it isn't the county's idea to do this. It is the applicant's idea to do this. So we're trying to figure out if the plan for wastewater and water is vague, then that's what we're talking about right at this very moment.
Well, if maybe you could answer.
Okay, I'll just finish up my comments real quick, and there'll be plenty of time when Mr. Kirschman comes back. I'm not interested in growing property taxes, if anybody's wondering. I'm in favor of property rights. And I guess that's all the comments that I have until Mr. Kirschman comes back to us. Yeah, thank you.
You want to address the water and wastewater?
Yeah, I think the wastewater, what Mr. Kirshner is going to look up is if you have processing more than 3,000 gallons per day, you can't fall under a ADEQ general permit, which is easy to get. You've got to, more than that, you've got to show that you're complying with nitrate control. It's an individual permit that gets reviewed, and there's a lot of commercial, a lot of businesses and septic tanks, septic systems that exceed the 3,000 gallons per day. There's even a lot of, commercial businesses that exceed that. So,
Matt?
and that's I think what he was saying is Cochise County ADQ can't approve that. It's got to go to the state for that permit.
Thank you.
And Madam Chair, Supervisor Crosby, the actual comment from our health department was at 248 RV spaces, it would require daily wastewater flow of 24,800 gallons per day design. This would be the minimum flow required. More permanent housing, so if they did more manufactured homes, would be more flow. Our delegation agreement only allows us to permit facilities up to 24,000 gallons per day. Therefore, the applicant must go through ADEQ. And so those are the comments from our health department.
Thank you, Mr. Kirshner.
Is that right for you?
Sure.
Any other comments, Mr.? Questions?
Oh, no. So I would like to say something else. I really feel strongly that my responsibility here on this board is to represent my constituents. Like I said, it's a little hard for me because I think of you as also one of my constituents, or at least your owner. So, but I feel strongly that, and many times it's happened where the communities come out against something and the county has been generous and in interest of the best interest of the whole, in the whole county, whatever the best interest was, we voted to go ahead and allow things. And I just strongly am a representative of my constituents. I'm not apologizing for feeling comfortable about voting against this, but I would also like to encourage the other members of the board to consider that when we're just giving almost an unfounded hope. I mean, I realize property rights are important, but I don't know that this is the right change. I feel at this time, for this purpose, it's not the right change. So,
Can
I can explain that better. Yes.
Would it help with your decision making if we limited the number of units to something like 150?
It is a
instead of
pretty daunting number, but I just understand the water a little better, understand the community a little better, understand the location a little better, and it's just, for me, it's not a fit. Across the freeway is, other areas are a little further away from the railroad tracks, a little bit out of that watershed. I know that's a lot of work for the railroad to keep that open and keep the water going through. So they'll appreciate the help. But anyway, that's my final comment.
Okay. Did you have any final comments before I close this public hearing?
No, that's pretty much it. We would be willing to limit the number of units, which would, of course, limit water use, traffic, effluent, if that's the case.
Thank you.
Are you saying you are limiting the number?
Well, we could. I mean, we came in at 248, but, if it would help limiting if we put a cap on the number of units, if that would help make you feel
Well, that
More toward the
constitutes a
project.
different plan. You kind of have to start over, right?
No, it'd just be a condition of the rezoning. You know, I think that's all it would be. I think that's what Robert could do is just say, okay, we're going to limit to 150 units maximum.
Could I make that an amendment to the,
But we don't
Motion.
have anything
No.
to amend
Okay.
just yet.
Yeah,
So you
Okay.
can certainly think about that.
Um,
A condition.
just to clarify that, this is, like Chairman English said, this isn't about whether they put in our RV park or not. It's about changing from heavy industrial to general business. I'm just not sure general business is the right fit for that area.
well, I'm interested in lower density almost all the time because I don't think that we have a land shortage here. So what would be the, we could table it, we could amend it, we could vote on it the way it is. I like the idea of lower density. That's all I'm saying.
Any further comments before we close the public hearing?
I have another comment.
All right.
And that's just with regard to everybody that's here. I've been politically active in all kinds of different ways. And I would like to say lack of protest or big protest does not constitute consent. And that's what I believe. And I appreciate your being here.
Okay, this public hearing is closed. And now I look for conversation and we'll look for motions from the board as to the concern. I think that from what I have heard, people who own this property went by all the records, stipulations that was required of them in order to rezone property for a different use. It hasn't been shown to me that they have not complied or are not willing to comply with any of the requirements that we put before them in order to rezone this property from heavy industry to general business. And I think when these kind of things come to us, we certainly can't expect, nor should we expect, that the people who are planning on a development have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in order to have every question answered. And that's why our commission that meets before us and we look at, okay, if we okay this, but we're still going to tell you that you have to do this, this, and this. And if you don't, then it's null and void. And so I think that's why you see some open-endedness, you know, when people come to us and they can't answer all these questions, because at that point in the process, they're not ready to answer those questions, but the county will expect answers to those questions. And so I believe in personal property rights, and I think this person has the right to explore, and I don't think that we can tell them that there's already too many mobile home parks. Just like we can't tell anyone there's too many fabric stores, there's too many of this or that, you know. You have the right to make those decisions for yourself. And if you want to make them for yourself, then you have no right to make that decision for your neighbor. So what we're looking at today is to adopt zoning ordinance 2111, rezoning two parcels totaling approximately 30 acres from heavy industry to general business pursuant to the application of Mr. Ken Perry. And I believe that you have made some intent to change that or to limit, you know, this in making a motion. So
This is what I'd like to point out, Madam Chair. As you said, your points are well taken. Madam Judge's points are well taken. As I said before, none of it was the county's idea. It was the applicant's idea. And similarly, neither we nor I told the applicant to reduce density. He's offering to. That makes the site plan and everything that we've looked, not everything, but many things that we've looked at in the site plan different. So I would suggest that my motion is to table this item until a period approximately 2 weeks from today.
Well, we've already had the public hearing on this. So I'm thinking if we table it, then you have expectations of some kind of change taking place, and that would start the whole process over again. Am I not correct, County Attorney?
Madam Chair, yes, that is correct. It's already been heard at the Planning Commission. And with a recommendation, it's being heard here. The Planning Commission has put some conditions, Planning Department recommendation and Planning Commission have put certain conditions on the rezoning that should the board want to add another condition, you could add a condition at this point, but no, tabling it would not do anything at this point other than to have this whole process start again.
So if you wish to add a condition at this point in time, that would be acceptable. You know, a motion with a condition, because there are already conditions on there.
Okay.
But it probably would not be appropriate, or you might not get what you're looking for is to say, I want to table this, because we'd have to start the whole process over again if you're expecting a different plan before you act on it. But now if you put conditions on there about a plan or a concept, that could be done today.
Well, the applicant has offered to reduce density down to 150 units. Are you saying that can be a condition to the current?
The board has the right to add another condition is what I'm saying to you. I'm not saying a specific condition, but we have the right during this process to add a condition. But we have the conditions that have already been set forth from the planning department and that have been okayed by the planning commission. At this point, we can add another condition.
Okay.
If that's the pleasure of the
Okay,
board.
then what I would add as an amendment to the existing item number 7 is conditional upon reduction of capacity or homes or units to 150, whatever the correct nomenclature for the lots.
You want to give us a
Conditional on reducing the number of lots to 150.
be the correct terminology, Dan?
I have it up there.
So since we don't have a motion for you to do that when you make the motion, if you would like to make it and have that as the addition, as part of the motion.
Okay.
Yes.
Be
you have a
different.
question?
So just to clarify, if this remains heavy industrial and this doesn't go through today, there's other possibilities out there for this company. Also, if it remains heavy industrial or if it gets switched to general business, I need to know if all this further action from this company, or if another company wanted to do heavy industrial, would they also go through planning and zoning and then thus come through our board? In the future, are we going to see this RV park again as a proposed use or a special use? So that would be for Mr. Kirschman, I'm guessing.
No, if the rezoning is approved today, the applicant, or whether it's this applicant or a future, would submit commercial permits to the county for review of the hydro, the traffic, the grading, building permits, etc. That would be the next step. So no, it would not, if the rezoning were to be approved by the board and it was a permitted use, such as an RV park, mobile home park, they would not come back to the planning commission or the board.
So this is the last chance for the community to speak on this. So now I'm going to ask, if we say no and we leave it heavy industrial, would a use for heavy industrial have to go through the planning commission?
No. So as I stated earlier, under the heavy industry district today, somebody can come in and they can apply for a building permit with no planning commission, no public input. They just have to comply with zoning regulations, and those types of uses can include research or testing laboratories, large engine repair services, bus, rail, and/or truck terminals, maintenance and garage for those, commercial feedlots, stockyards, livestock auction barns, manufacturing, wholesaling, warehousing, and distribution or storage of goods with no limitation on the square footage, custom meat butchering, jails, prisons, detention centers, recycling centers, impoundment storage yards, gasoline service stations, truck stops, car wash, slaughterhouses. So these are the types of uses that are permitted today as a matter of right.
I have no question on that. So
This might be the last chance, as Ms. Judd says, but it is not requiring all the people to take another day off to come back and comment again. This way appears to be a compromise and an efficient use of county resources.
So do I have a motion on the floor that we can act upon?
Madam Chair, I move that we adopt zoning ordinance 21-11, rezoning two parcels totaling approximately 30 acres from HI Heavy Industry to GB General Business pursuant to the application of Mr. Ken Perry, conditional on reducing lots to 150.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
I've discussed myself out.
Well, there's one way of looking at it, and I think you are trying to do what you think is best for the homeowners that surround this. And I think in my looking at it, and perhaps Mr. Crosby looking at it, this is the best of what we can offer you, going from general business, from heavy industry down to general business. So if there are no further comments, then I will call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. All those opposed?
And as I explained my vote, you don't live next to the people, you don't live in their neighborhood.
Yes or no?
So, no. You were expecting that.
All right, then it is approved with one no vote from Ms. Judd. All right, now we move on to the action items to approve a proclamation opposing the federal government's 30 by 30 land preservation goal. I believe this was submitted by Mr. Crosby.
Yes, ma'am.
Wait just a minute. Okay. We'll let them filter out if they want to leave the room at this time.
Can I have a break while they filter out?
Certainly.
I'll be right back.
Would you like to recess?
She wanted to break, so I said, okay, she could leave, so.
I'll be available for flogging at CQB.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, I think that we have taken enough time now. If you would like to go ahead and explain your reason for bringing this proclamation to the board.
Certainly, Madam Chair. As you recall, I read the last paragraph, which was the therefore. This was at a previous meeting, which I will do again so everybody can understand. This has to do with a very broad range of issues having to do with agriculture. And I like to eat, and most people like to eat. And I want to continue to be able to eat and have good economic prosperity for myself, my children, and my grandchildren, hopefully, if I ever get any. So I'm going to read this part. This was forwarded to us from Representative Griffin, and it said, therefore oppose the 30 by 30 program or any similar program that will set aside to prevent the productive use of millions of acres of our land. Oppose the designation of public lands and national forests in Arizona as wilderness study areas, wildlife preserves, open space, or other conservation land, and acquiring private land from unwilling landowners, and support the management of public lands and the national forests under principles of multiple use and sustained yield, recognizing the nation's need for domestic sources of minerals, energy, timber, food, and in careful coordination with Arizona to ensure consistency with state and local land use plan management policies and protection of private property and honoring states' rights as required by law. So as Representative Griffin emphasizes, all we're doing is saying we want our constitutional rights, which are our state rights, coincidentally. So that's all I have for a presentation, Madam. Thank you.
Okay, do you have any questions of Mr. Crosby?
I do not. I stand with that position as well. I believe it should be a state decision and actually down to property rights. If I could say, she had a package that was personal that she was returning to me, and had I not run out, I would not have gotten it. So thank you for letting me do that, Madam Chairman. But I have had some discussion and deliberation with certain people that might have been affected by this, and they are this resolution that we passed today, and they all feel they would be affected positively. So I really like the idea of doing that, and I feel like it's a good move, supporting our representative that way as well, to honor her with this.
I'm going to have to I'm going to have to step up on this one and tell you that I think that the county has already made a statement that we are for conservation, that we do believe that, you know, that we all need to take an active role in conserving not only the beauty, but the utility of property. I see this as simply a statement that came out of the federal government that they are going to move forward with the process that was started back in Roosevelt's day and John Muir. And you look at things, and if those people had not acted, you would not have Yosemite, you wouldn't have any of the national parks or national monuments. It's well known that here in this county and some of your neighbors have already sold their rights not to develop property. So that's what we're saying, is that people have the right to use their property or put a stamp on that property that says, this property will never be developed. We're not going to put acres of homes on this property. And so I'll have to say that I think that that's a great concept. I want people to be able to do that. I want the government, whether it's the state or the federal government, to be able to buy property as we did in order to what we thought was protect the interests of the fort. You know, we bought property to secure the water rights, and it has on it the ability to not develop that as it was going to be developed, you know, into 4-acre parcels. So we took a piece of property that was large enough that would have had hundreds of people on it. We bought it. Now we're going to be able to sell it and put 2 or 3 people on that property, not keep it for us as a park, but to, so I see that as conservation. And so I'm going to be voting against this because I think it sets the wrong tone as a concept of, are we conservationists or not? And I would like for people to think of us as not only conserving money, but trying to conserve property and do things that way. So I wanted you to know that I certainly am, and it's kind of strange to have something that is not posed in a positive manner, it's posed in a negative manner. And so in order to oppose this, so it's a proclamation opposing the federal government. So does that mean I vote for it because I'm against it?
No.
It's on the agenda to approve the proclamation, so if you are against the proclamation, you would just vote against it.
Okay.
Right.
Is that clear enough for all of you? Sure.
Yes, very clear.
All right. Then I'm looking for a motion. I don't believe I have.
To turn the page. I apologize. Madam Chair, I move that we approve a proclamation opposing the federal government's 30 by 30 land preservation goal.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Votes no. It does pass with one no vote and two positives. So we will go on to the next agenda item, and I think I've lost it in the shuffle somewhere.
Number 9. Oh, you took your agenda apart.
Well,
It's only 2 pages, so.
I ripped it apart, but I don't know where the second page was to.
It's just the back of the second page.
Madam Chair, that would be agenda item 9, which is to approve the crime victim compensation grant number VC-22-002 in the amount of $72,461 effective July
Nobody's
1st.
been here, so I don't know if I've eaten it, if I've moved it, or.
It's probably there somewhere.
Here's your. Okay, so we're looking at number 9, which is from the county attorney, and are you going to explain this before we, let's have the motion first for the approval. I think we'll start that process with the motion first.
Certainly. Madam Chair, I move we approve the crime victim compensation grant number VC-22-002 in the amount of $72,461 effective July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Now, give us an explanation.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Supervisors Crosby and Judd. Brian County Attorney McIntyre can't be here today, so I'm going to present this item. This is basically a re-up of the annual grant that we get that funds our victim witness program. The amount is for $72,461, and it provides the crime victims within Cochise County with compensation for injuries and losses received as a result of an incident. It allows for $21,500 in administrative costs, which is used to pay salary and EREs for a part-time victim compensation coordinator. There are no matching funds necessary for the grant.
Anyone need any further explanation of this?
No.
We have a motion and a second. I'll call for the vote then. All in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous. We now move to item number 10, which is from the County School Superintendent's Office. Jackie, are you on the line? Is anyone on the line representing the School Superintendent's Office?
Yes, I am on the line. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can, Jackie. Go ahead.
Basically, what this is a school information systems. What it is, it allows for the centralization of all student records in an accessible digital format. It allows for us to enter school information, which is their academic progress, their history, parent guardian history, et cetera, et cetera. Basically, to stay in compliance, all dropout recovery programs, including those administered by accommodation school districts, are required by statute 15-908, 901, and 15-1042 to report student attendance for the funding that we will receive from ADE. So all schools have to have a SIS, or what you call a student school information system. So we are requesting the contract to be signed.
Okay, so this is for the new school accommodation school that the county school superintendent is starting this year. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve software license agreement between Haynes Solutions LLC and the Cochise County School Superintendent's Office for a school management system in the amount of $5,430 effective May 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022.
A second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
I have a question. Mr. Karwachka, I sent you an email yesterday referencing ARS 15-1001 A5, and it looked like a question that might have to go to perhaps the finance director to confirm that we were in compliance, or the school superintendent was in compliance, or we were in compliance with each other with reference to funding and interaction. Did you have a comment on that?
I received the text message. I haven't yet found that information that you're requesting yet.
Is that pertinent to this issue?
I think so. It's just, you know, I didn't detail it out. I didn't research it. And I know it was a last minute. So it's very much a last minute thing, which happens every once in a while.
I have a question for Ms. Clay. Superintendent Clay, Madam Chair, Superintendent Clay. I was wondering, and I know that as innovative as you are, that your programs are possibly going to change or your school is going to expand, and you may even come up with something in another area that does similar to what you're doing. So if you were to open a second accommodation school or a variation, would this software move across to that venue, or would that still be under your office and you could use the software for more and more students? Because it's, and I'm also wondering if can't you use someone else's software to do this work? I mean, I intend to support you on this, but I just want to make sure it's a valuable expense that can be, that's versatile a little bit. Or does every school have to own their own?
Every school district has their own SIS system, because this is how you get paid and this is how you do reports to the Department of Education and to parents or to anyone who needs that information.
So does this include your jail school as well?
Yes.
School in the jail? Okay. That's just what I wondered.
Any student who falls under the new Crossroads Academy, those include our students at the jail. It includes our students at the detention center also. So as long as it falls under New Crossroads Academy, which is the name of our school, we use the same SIS software.
I was sort of fishing for that name too. Thank you. I wish I could have remembered it. So thank you, Ms. Clay.
You're welcome.
I'm not sure what your question would involve.
You answered it, though.
Feel that you have a
No, I'm ready to
answer.
vote. It's not answered, but it won't prevent me from voting.
All right. I think we have the information now. Do we have a motion?
Yes, I made the motion, and we have a second.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. We've had discussion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous. We now move on to Health and Social Services. Let's start with the motion.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve Amendment 1 to Contract CRT 050594 Health Start Program between the Arizona Department of Health Services and Cochise Health and Social Services in the amount of $353,000 to extend to the contract to the second 5 grant years effective July 1st, 2021 through July 5th, 2022.
Okay, you just transposed the T and the R, so it's
We're
CTR instead of CRT.
okay.
Okay.
That was supposed to be contract CTR 050594.
Thank
And
you.
before
Just for
I
the
seconded, it's an annual amount, so I want to make sure that's included because I'm seconding an annual amount. Thank you.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, so now we
You're
have a
welcome.
motion and a second. If you would give us an explanation.
Good morning. Thank you. My name is Lorraine Swartz, and I'm the supervisor for the Health Start program throughout Cochise County. And Cochise Health and Social Services has received the Health Start grant for over 30 years, which allows us to promote healthy births and healthy families among Cochise County residents. The Health Start program serves pregnant women and families with children under the age of 2. The purpose is to reduce pregnancy and postpartum risks through a community health worker model where trained community members act as a guide and mentor using the evidence-based curriculum Partners for a Healthy Baby to support and educate parents about how to raise healthy children. Pregnant women and parents receive guidance and information including what to expect during pregnancy, breastfeeding education and support, nutrition for children and pregnant women, screening for child development, activities to support healthy development and health and home health safety. 2020 was the first year Health Start offers expanded programming to include the Maternal Health Innovation Project, which provides education on reducing risk for maternal morbidity and mortality to women, families, and community organizations serving this population. According to the 2010 census data, there are approximately 3,000 families in Cochise County with children under age 2. The Health Start program utilizes 6 staff positions, serves approximately 250 families annually, providing an average of 1,500 to 2,000 intervention visits annually in large and small communities in every area of Cochise County. This is a grant-funded fixed-price program for the Arizona Department of Health Services in the annual amount of $353,000. This supports salaries, EREs, and expenses for 6 staff positions to provide the above-described services for 250 families. Your approval are respectfully requested. Thank you.
Good, thank you. You have any questions, comments? Ms. Judd?
No, thank you.
Mr. Crosby?
None at this time. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, then we have a motion and a second, so on the floor, so I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next one is from Human Resources. Let's put a motion on the floor for policy number 2233. I need a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve policy number 2233, background screening for all potential new hires.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. So now, can you give us the information and the need for this?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. I'm Elder Orduno. For those of you that don't know me, I'm the Human Resources Director for Cochise County. I'm really excited to bring this policy before you today. I think this policy has been a long time coming. We are asking for approval of this policy, and essentially the reason we created this policy is because Human Resources has been conducting background checks without clear guidance in the past, or what we've been doing is basing it on what the position is, how much risk or exposure we think it creates for the county. But I don't think that the policy or the practice has been consistently applied, and I, for one, would like some guidance from the board. We are the only county also throughout the state of Arizona that doesn't background check all of our employees. And this also applies to interns, volunteers that we want this policy to apply to. I think that background checks for the county helps us to limit our liability. It also gives us an opportunity to ensure that we are bringing on members of our community that won't create liability for us. I want to thank everybody that provided input into this policy. This policy took a long time because we had it vetted by all of our appointing authorities as well as administration. So I just want to thank everybody that helped us on this. Let's see, what else do I want you to know? I think that's it, unless any of you have any questions. In short, this policy will allow us to do background checks on all potential new hires. And just as a clarification, the Sheriff's Department performs background checks on all of their deputies and on certain elected offices, like the county attorney's office, the constables. In those instances, I don't believe that we would perform those background checks because they're already going through the Sheriff's Department, and their background checks are much more in-depth. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Orduno.
Thank you.
Is there a cost involved, and do we have this in your budget?
Yes, it's already in my budget. We estimated $8,000 per fiscal year. I don't think we'll really get that high, but we are budgeted for $8,000 per year. We made that request to the board when we transitioned from A-Check to Assure Hire, which is our third-party vendor that conducts our background checks.
Thank you. Just wanted to make sure it was covered.
It's covered.
Any other questions?
Yes, indeed. Ms. Lemons, first of all, I'd like you to note that I'm concerned with background checks in the Sheriff's Department, for the record, and I wonder if you would please project paragraph B of the document called Proposed Policy. Mr. Karwachka, maybe you can speed up the process. I asked this to be amended. I'm looking at what we have, on my document on my computer here, and I don't see that it was amended like I asked it to be, but you said that it had been. So I'd like to talk about that for the sake of my colleagues.
Yes. So you, so I can look at the screen. So the question is, or the sentence in paragraph B, it says, it's
4 applicants of departments.
correct. 4 applicants of departments or elected offices who require. So the comment that you made was that you wanted a clarification so that when we talk about elected offices, it's not screening or background screening for the elected position. So what we changed with the help of Ms. Orduña, and she's better at writing than I am, but now it's clear when it says 4 applicants of departments or elected offices. So by reading that, this is specific for applicants that are either applicants for departments or applicants for elected offices.
Do we have a corrected
So
version?
that is the corrected version, because the original version wasn't clear as to who it applied to, and that your suggestion was to clarify the elected offices part. However, we decided to clarify both. So it's not just department directors or elected offices. It's all applicants of the departments or elected offices.
Okay. I liked it better the way I suggested, which was in place of elected offices to say employees of elected officials departments. That would have made it more clear. But nonetheless, I appreciate the work that is done. I don't think that it, as Ms. Orduña pointed out, what the sheriff's office doesn't apply to us, unfortunately, in this background check policy. Nonetheless, I appreciate what you've done, and as I mentioned to Ms. Lemons, I'm concerned with the background checks done by the Sheriff's Department as well. Thank you very much.
Any other comments?
No.
No comment? Well, we do have a motion and a second on the floor already. If there's no further comments, then I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
State and federal legislation, I think we're going to be getting the rundown on that very soon, and I'm not capable of giving it to you yet because I've been trying to read, and it hasn't all been information that I know how to share. Some of it still has not been explained to me, so we can do that at another time. Mr. Karwachka, do you have a report?
I do.
Okay.
And so just to give some updated information about what things are going on in the county. Currently, the reinforcement of the bridge at the courthouse in Bisbee is being done. So there will be some noise and working for the next 3 weeks. Also, regarding the past storm, it goes this past weekend, with the rain that saturated the soil, there was a tree that fell next to the courthouse. However, no one was injured. And we are taking steps now to look at the other surrounding trees so that no one does get hurt regarding that. Also, we started construction at the Douglas Road Yard, and that is what the board has approved in the past. So we started that construction. Also, yesterday, our staff applied concrete slurry to the fissures near Dragoon Road and Cochise Stronghold Road intersections. So, and it appears to that application of that material is effective. So I just wanted to update. We did that, yeah. In addition, that the Wilcox and Benson Road Yard staffs will combine forces and begin prep work for Shelton Road, the patching, the reworking the base, and staging the materials for chip seal. So that will be completed by the end of August. Additionally, we did replace a box culvert on Geronimo Trail at milepost 6.6. And on the employee side, Aileen Contepe, who's worked for the county for a long time, and her last position was a judicial assistant for Judge Dickerson. She retired. There is another employee, Mariela Maldonado, who reaches her 20-year anniversary with the county. So she started 20 years ago, and she worked in many different departments, but has worked in the housing department the longest time. And the best compliment is always other people's words about that employee. So she helped an individual that eventually made it off the program, is now in the medical field, and is living without government subsidies. And she wrote a letter to her saying, "My family and I appreciate all your support, help, and kindness. You are a blessing to us, similar to an extended family. We've relied on you so many times, and you've always pulled through to the best of your abilities and then some. You were here when we had no one. It is because of people like you that inspires and gives hope to people like me." So I wanted to end with that positive comment and about someone that works for us that's doing a great job.
Well,
Thank you.
we always need to hold our employees up. You know, they're good. District 1, current events.
Madam Chair, this would be a good time for my point of order, and my request to you is we have these pages that are conveniently labeled 4 and 5, and I would like to switch the order of those. Number 5 being the budget, and number 4 being the flood control district meeting, and so on. So because what I have to say about the budget involves the flood control district, I would like to talk about that first with regard to the budget prior to talking about.
Is that a current event?
You bet. Point of order, you know what it is.
It's going to be a
Well,
current event
right now we're
in a
looking
few
at
minutes.
current events, so you have none, right?
That'll work.
Okay. You have any current events to report on?
Oh my goodness. So I just wanted to say that I thought the 4th of July was just perfect in our community, and I went to Benson's parade as well, and I just wanted to give accolades to those communities coming back after a pandemic and lots of restrictions. They just went all out, and they got rained out in Benson, and they were happy, and it was neat. And then I thought it was an event as I came in from Sierra Vista this morning, which I don't get to do very much. The water's just running off that mountain. That was one of the best things I've seen in a long time. And I didn't even know it ran down those little rivulets all over those rocks. I actually had to stop on the side of the road to make sure because I couldn't believe it. It was beautiful.
It's iconic.
So it was iconic. So anyway, we of course have our summer, the summer's winding down, and the city does activities, and I'm sure all of your cities do, but I encourage people to attend those because especially with the, last year not having them, it just feels so good to be out. And then this morning I did go to Good Morning Sierra Vista with Camilla, and it was a neat experience. We got to do a little bitty report. And I have one more thing. I'm sorry. I am going to the Cattle Growers Conference on Thursday and Friday in Springerville, and we'll be there specifically with the New Mexico and Arizona Coalition, which we do not belong, but they welcome our county in it to just have information and share what things are important. And as you mentioned, Madam Chair, we do care about that. We care about conservation and the health of our ranches and farms. So that's where I'll be this weekend on Thursday and Friday.
Will you be representing the county?
I'm just going, sort of. I'm getting an award. Can I say that? They're giving me the Supervisor of the Year award for Arizona. So I've been invited. So I don't know if y'all think I deserve it, but they gave it to me anyway. I don't even know if I think I deserve it.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. This meeting is adjourned.